Now, I don't have any cool tricks for you guys, but I hope a few stories will do. What does a refugee look like? July 25th, 2006. It was the first night I spent away from home. I thought I was the coolest kid, 9 years old, and I thought that the world was mine. The next day, my father came to pick me up, but I could instantly tell that there was something wrong. He didn't smile the same way he always did. And there was something different. I stayed silent and didn't want to ask, and then we drove home. But we stopped at a red light, and I summoned up my courage and asked him a question. Baba, what's wrong? He looked at me, sighed, and said, Ahmed, our house was bombed last night. Now, as a kid, you don't really know what that means. Your world is so limited. All you do is eat, play, sleep, and repeat. I didn't really know what he meant by that, so I stayed silent for the rest of the ride home. And when we got home, I was introduced to tragedy for the first time. I shook the hands of tragedy and saw for myself what had happened. It was a dud bomb that had went through right in front of my parents, right through the house, just missing them by 3 feet. Now, through the bomb's trajectory, it went through 3 natural gas canisters, about this tall, leaving a hole about this size through each one of them. But luckily, we had emptied them out 3 days prior. So we were saved. And a week later, we packed up all our things and took a bus to Aleppo, Syria, a safer and more peaceful place. My parents had left jobs of 23 years in Iraq as civil engineers, and they were on paid leave. And we stayed in Syria for about 2 years. And at the top of that second year, my parents had to make a choice. Do we stay in Syria and enjoy the safety but struggle economically, or do we go back to Baghdad and be financially okay and risk our safety? So we would go back and forth between Iraq and Syria, just visiting family. And during one of those trips, my father was talking to a bus driver, and he was telling him our story and our current predicament. And the bus driver told him of this refugee program that would take approximately 1% of all those that applied. The accepted individuals would either go to the United Kingdom or to America. So my dad thought he really didn't have anything to lose, and we applied. And 6 months later, we received a phone call. Would you like to go to America? Now, we agreed, obviously. And they told us that you now have 4 one-way tickets to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Yeah. So on the way there, on the plane, we tried to figure it out. Every refugee gets a manila envelope with several pieces of paper, one of which is where they will be resettled to and their new address. And we tried to figure out how to pronounce Sioux Falls. We kept saying Sioux Falls. We're gonna be moving to Sioux Falls, but no one knew where that was. Eventually, we learned that the OUX was silent. I still remember that first day in America at JFK Airport and asking my dad what that big yellow M with arches was all about. Eventually, I figured it out. And since being in America, I've realized that we're all just a collection of stories, and that every single story deserves to be told. Last year, I founded Narratio. And Narratio is a platform for youth to share their voice with the world. It's a platform for youth empowerment. Through my experiences, I've realized that I'm both Iraqi and American, and that I now held the key to two doors and two worlds. And it was now my responsibility to try and bring those two worlds together. But this wasn't always easy. During the first year in America, I didn't really know where I fit in. Who was I? So I wanted to be something that I wasn't. So I decided that I wanted to be a gangster. I wore baggy jeans, listened to obnoxious rap music, and cursed at people for absolutely no reason. I thought that was cool. Eventually, I shed my gangster skin and realized that I had a story to tell. And I realized the power of differing perspectives. I realized that each and every one of us were united by our differences as much as we are by our similarities. And I've realized that this is something that is key to every single one of us. Earlier, I said that we're all a collection of stories. And with every story comes a different perspective. And with every story comes something new. Now, no matter what you may hear in the media, I hope that you take one thing away from my talk tonight. And that thing is, this is what a refugee looks like.